You won't believe what happened on the streets of New York. A story that seems straight out of a movie but is absolutely real and will touch every fiber of your heart. Imagine for a second. An extremely wealthy man, owner of a billion-dollar fortune, decides to temporarily abandon his life of luxury to disguise himself as a simple delivery man on the streets of the city that never sleeps. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But wait until you hear what happened when he rang the doorbell of an Upper East Side mansion. A wealthy woman, accustomed to all sorts of privileges, opened the door and made a confession so shocking, so unexpected, that it changed not only his life, but also our perspective on what truly matters in life. Stay until the end because you'll discover a secret that no one, absolutely no one, imagined. A revelation that proves that sometimes appearances can be deceiving in ways that can literally be a matter of life or death. If you enjoy stories that touch the heart and make us rethink our prejudices, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because today you're going to witness something extraordinary. This story unfolded in the heart of Manhattan, where skyscrapers touch the clouds and the gap between rich and poor can be measured in blocks. Between the bustling avenues and the most extreme social contrasts in the United States, two completely opposite worlds were about to collide in a way no one could have predicted. Our protagonist and our protagonist didn't know it yet, but their lives were about to intertwine in a way that would change everything forever. Marcus Wellington woke up every morning on the 47th floor of a penthouse that cost over $20 million. From his bedroom window, he gazed out over Central Park, while his private butler prepared a specialty Colombian coffee that cost $300 a pound. At 34, Marcus was the CEO and founder of Wellington Tech, an artificial intelligence company valued at over $8 billion. His routine was a dream for most people. Meetings in glass rooms atop skyscrapers, dinners at restaurants where a single meal cost more than many Americans' monthly salary, cars that were true works of art on wheels. He owned 3 residences in Manhattan, a house in the Hamptons, a yacht in the Caribbean, and a private jet that could take him anywhere in the world in a matter of hours. But behind all this ostentation, Marcus felt a void that money couldn't fill. He woke up every morning with a strange feeling in his chest, as if he were living someone else's life. I had everything, but I felt like I had nothing, he would often think as he stared at his reflection in the gilded bathroom mirror. The people around him were polite and respectful, but Marcus knew no one truly saw him as a human being. He was a walking bank account, a name on million-dollar contracts, a business opportunity. When he spoke, people nodded. When he laughed, everyone laughed along. But did anyone there truly care about Marcus, the person? It was then that a radical idea dawned on him. What if he could discover how people would really treat him if they didn't know who he was? What if he could experience life as an ordinary person, without the burden of the Wellington surname, without the millions of dollars separating him from the rest of humanity? The decision was made on a rainy October night. Marcus would go undercover and work as a delivery man, immersing himself in the real world he had only observed through his bulletproof glass windows. But Marcus had no idea that this decision would change his life in ways he never expected. 2 weeks later, Marcus was unrecognizable. He had created a fake identity, Mike Santos, rented a small apartment in the Bronx, and landed a job at a delivery company. That Monday morning, he wore a uniform for the first time in his life that wasn't an Italian designer. His hands trembled slightly as he slung his cooler backpack over his shoulder. The man who led meetings with CEOs of multinational corporations now felt butterflies in his stomach about delivering burgers. The delivery company was a whole new world. He arrived at 6 in the morning in an area he'd never been before. The other delivery drivers greeted him naturally. "Hey, newbie!" And for the first time in years, Marcus felt normal. The first order was a disaster. He got lost in the streets, the food got cold, and the customer complained. But something magical happened. He laughed at himself. When was the last time he messed up without someone rushing to fix it for him? The second request was better. An elderly woman in Harlem thanked him with a smile worth more than any contract he'd ever signed. "Thank you, honey, you made my day," she said, and Marcus felt a warmth in his chest that money never could. During lunch, he sat with other delivery drivers in a small park. They shared stories, laughed together, and complained about the traffic. Marcus learned that Jose was supporting 3 children, that Maria was paying for nursing school, and that Carlos was sending money to his mother in Mexico. Real people, with real dreams, real problems, real joys. Guys, if you're enjoying this incredible transformation, leave a like and comment on what you would do in his place. The story is just beginning. At the end of that first day, Marcus returned to his simple apartment in the Bronx completely exhausted, but curiously complete. In his 3rd week as a delivery driver, Marcus received a request that would change everything. The address was all too familiar. East 78th Street, just a few blocks from where he actually lived. His heart raced as he realized he was returning to his own neighborhood, but now on the other side of the social spectrum. The mansion was imposing. Golden gates, perfectly manicured gardens, a marble fountain in the center of the circular driveway. Marcus recognized the architectural style. He'd dined in similar homes dozens of times, but he'd never entered through the back entrance. He rang the doorbell and waited. When the door opened, he was met by a woman in her 30s, with perfectly brushed blonde hair, wearing a silk robe that probably cost more than Mike Santos's monthly salary. "You must be the delivery man," she said in a melodious voice, but there was something in her blue eyes that Marcus couldn't immediately decipher. It wasn't the disdain he'd expected. It was curiosity. "Yes, ma'am. Victoria Ashford's request," Marcus replied, staying in character. Victoria took the bag of food but didn't close the door. Instead, she studied him for a few seconds. "You're different from other delivery people," she said, almost whispering. Marcus felt butterflies in his stomach. Had she recognized him? "What do you mean, ma'am?" "Your posture, your way of speaking. You have a college education, don't you?" Victoria asked with a frankness that surprised him. "I studied a little," Marcus replied cautiously. Victoria then did something completely unexpected. She took a $100 bill from her purse and handed it to him. "Wait a moment," she said, disappearing for a few seconds to return with a bottle of ice-cold water. "There's something different about you," she repeated, handing him the water. "Thank you for bringing the food." Marcus didn't know it, but this woman held secrets that would shake his worldview forever. Over the next few days, something strange began to happen. Victoria began ordering delivery with suspicious frequency, always when Marcus was on shift. Coincidence? He doubted it. The second delivery took 15 minutes at the door. Victoria offered coffee, and they began talking about literature. She'd noticed he'd quoted Shakespeare in casual conversation. The third time she asked about international politics, and Marcus had to restrain himself from appearing too knowledgeable. "Mike, have you ever lived abroad?" she asked on a rainy Thursday as he delivered Japanese sushi. "No, ma'am. I just read a lot." Marcus lied, remembering his stints in London and Tokyo. Victoria smiled wistfully. "You're lucky. I've lived in several countries, but I've never felt at home anywhere." It was then that Marcus began to notice the loneliness behind that perfect facade. Victoria was always alone. There was never the sound of other people in the house, never the gentle ringing of a phone, never the sound of laughter echoing through the halls. During a pizza delivery one Friday night, she asked, "Mike, do you have any family?" "I do, but it's complicated," he replied, thinking of his parents who only came to him to ask for money. "I understand completely," Victoria whispered, and Marcus saw tears forming in her eyes. "Sometimes the family we have isn't the family we need." At that moment, Marcus made a decision that would haunt him for the next few weeks. He wanted to help this woman, but how could he do so without revealing who he really was? How could a simple delivery man offer real help to someone who seemingly had everything? The answer to that question would come in a way he never imagined. 3 weeks after their first meeting, Marcus received an urgent call. Victoria had ordered delivery from a pharmacy, medicine for headaches and nausea. When she arrived at the mansion, she was visibly shaken, with dark circles under her eyes and trembling hands. "Mike, can you come in, please? I need to talk to someone," she said, her voice breaking. Marcus hesitated. Entering the house broke all the rules, but something about the desperation in her eyes made him accept. The interior of the mansion was even more impressive than he'd imagined. Crystal chandeliers, original artwork, furniture that looked like it had come straight out of a museum. But all that beauty had a dark, almost sinister air. Victoria led him into a private office and closed the door. "Mike, I'm going to tell you something that might sound crazy, but I need someone to know." She took a deep breath, tears streaming down her face. "My husband is slowly killing me." Marcus felt the world spin. "What do you mean?" "Gradual poisoning," she whispered. "For the past 6 months, I've been experiencing strange symptoms: nausea, dizziness, weight loss, stomach pains. I've been to several doctors, but my husband always accompanies me and influences the diagnoses." Victoria opened a drawer and revealed documents that made Marcus's blood run cold. Recently amended life insurance policies, modified wills, suspicious prescriptions. "I discovered he put something in my tea every night. Small doses of arsenic, mixed with other compounds. Too clever to be easily detected," she continued, her voice breaking. Marcus was in absolute shock. "Why didn't you go to the police?" "He has powerful connections. Judges, sheriffs, politicians. Who will believe me against Richard Ashford III?" Victoria took his hand. "Mike, you're the only person who treats me like a human being. The only one I can trust." "You're the only person I can trust," she repeated, her eyes pleading. "Guys, this story is getting intense. If you want to know how this situation unfolds, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Leave a like if you're as tense as I am." Marcus left the mansion with his mind in turmoil. As he rode his bicycle through the streets of Manhattan, a single question lingered in his mind. How could a simple delivery man save the life of a wealthy woman being pursued by a powerful man? That night in his Bronx apartment, he stayed up until 4 in the morning. If he revealed his true identity, he could help Victoria immediately. He had resources, connections, and power. But doing so would destroy the experiment that had changed her outlook on life. More importantly, Victoria had trusted him as Mike Santos, not as Marcus Wellington. "She trusts the delivery man, not the millionaire," he muttered to himself. But a life was at stake. In the coming days, Marcus began discreetly, using his royal resources. He hired private investigators through third-party firms and asked trusted attorneys to investigate Richard Ashford III without revealing the motive. What he discovered was terrifying. Richard had a dark history, 2 ex-wives who died in suspicious accidents, each leaving him considerable fortunes. The first fell from a yacht, the second suffered a sudden heart attack at age 28. Victoria would be the third. Marcus realized he had no choice. He would reveal his identity if necessary, but first he would try to save Victoria by maintaining his cover. After all, Mike Santos had earned her trust in a way Marcus Wellington might never have. Time was running out. Victoria was growing weaker by the day, and Richard was accelerating the process. Marcus knew he needed to act fast. Victoria was visibly losing weight, and her hands were shaking more with each delivery. During a conversation at the door, she confessed that she felt like she was slowly disappearing. Using connections through intermediaries, Marcus arranged for a toxicology doctor to discreetly examine samples of Victoria's tea. The results confirmed his worst fears. Arsenic in doses calculated to cause slow, apparently natural death. Marcus's plan was risky, but it was his only chance. First, he got anonymous lawyers to contact the FBI and present evidence of Richard's criminal pattern. Second, he organized a covert medical operation. "Victoria, trust me," Marcus said during a Tuesday delivery. "Tomorrow night, you're going to feel very sick. When that happens, call a designated ambulance." He handed her a card with a number on it. "Tell her it's an emergency and ask to be taken to Mount Sinai Hospital." "But Mike, I don't understand." "You'll understand, and Victoria, stop drinking anything your husband makes, anything." The doctor Marcus had hired was on call at Mount Sinai, ready to simulate Victoria's cardiac arrest and declare her temporarily dead. Meanwhile, federal agents were reportedly monitoring Richard, waiting to catch him red-handed trying to expedite the poisoning after his wife's miraculous recovery. The next night, Marcus lay awake in his Bronx apartment, cell phone in hand, waiting for the call that would confirm the plan had worked. Will the plan work? Leave a like if you're as nervous as I am. The phone rang at 2 in the morning. Operation successful, said the doctor's voice. Marcus sighed with relief, but he knew the hardest part was yet to come. Victoria had been officially declared dead. Richard, as expected, showed no sadness. He only asked about financial matters and life insurance. Federal agents watched his every move, waiting for the right moment. 2 days later, Richard was caught red-handed trying to dispose of evidence. Arsenic-laced vials, compromising emails, forged documents. The arrest was spectacular. Golden handcuffs for a man who used gold to hide his corrupt nature. Victoria was safe in a secure home when Marcus finally decided to reveal the truth. He arrived not as Mike Santos, the delivery man, but wearing one of his designer suits and driving his Bentley. When Victoria opened the door and saw him, her expression changed from surprise to confusion, and then recognition. "You're Marcus Wellington?" she whispered in disbelief. "Yes. My real name is Marcus Wellington. I'm the CEO of Wellington Tech," he confirmed, seeing the shock wash over her face. "But why? Why did you disguise yourself as a delivery man?" Marcus explained everything. The existential void, the search for authenticity, the social experiment that had become something much bigger. "You saved my life by being yourself, not by being rich," Victoria said, tears welling in her eyes. "Marcus, Wellington would never have earned my trust the way Mike Santos did." In that moment, they both understood a profound truth. Wealth hadn't saved anyone there. Humanity, genuine connection, the courage of a man who chose to be simple when he could have been powerful, that had made the difference. The trial of Richard Ashford III was one of the most talked about in New York. The evidence was irrefutable. 3 attempted murders, forged documents, and a pattern of behavior spanning more than a decade. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Victoria was free, but more than that, she was alive. For the first time in years, she could drink tea without fear, wake up without pain, plan a future that truly belonged to her. But the most profound transformation happened to Marcus. His experience as a delivery driver had changed his perspective on everything. He could no longer return to his old life, ignoring the reality of the people who worked to support his dreams. Marcus created the Santos Foundation, using the surname of his secret identity, dedicated exclusively to improving the working conditions of New York City delivery drivers. He provided decent wages, health insurance, educational assistance, and safety equipment. Within 6 months, the foundation had impacted the lives of more than 5,000 workers. Victoria joined the cause. She discovered she had a natural talent for social organizing and began dedicating her time and inherited resources to expanding the project. "I've finally found my purpose," she said during a foundation meeting. Their friendship deepened in a unique way. They knew they had shared something rare, an experience that showed that a person's worth lies not in their bank account, but in their ability to see and care for others. What an incredible lesson. If this story touched you, share it with your friends and let us know in the comments how it changed your perspective. 6 months later, on a sunny spring morning, Marcus Wellington still occasionally donned his delivery uniform. Not out of necessity, but by choice. Once a week, he hopped on his bike and made deliveries through the streets of New York, keeping alive the connection to reality he had almost lost forever. Victoria had moved into a modest apartment in Brooklyn. Far from the empty opulence of the mansion, she discovered the joy of simple things, cooking her own food, making genuine friends, waking up without fear. She worked full-time at the foundation, which had already expanded to other American cities. "You know, Mike," Victoria said one afternoon, deliberately using the name by which she knew him, "I used to think my life had value only because of my family heritage. I discovered that my value was hidden even from myself." Marcus smiled. He had learned that true wealth wasn't found in the zeros in a bank account, but in authentic human connections, in real purpose, in the ability to make a difference in other people's lives. Marcus and Victoria's story proves that sometimes we need to strip away everything we think defines us to discover who we truly are. That judgments based on appearances can blind us to the humanity that exists within each person. The Santos Foundation now employs over 200 people and has changed the lives of thousands of workers. But more than that, it has changed the way, too, people see the world and their place in it. If this story inspired you to be more empathetic and look beyond appearances, please like, subscribe to the channel, and comment on your own experiences. Activate the bell for more life-changing stories. See you in the next video with more moving stories that prove humanity still